We seven?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May meeting of the Alexander Board of Education. If we could have a roll call, please.
Blake? Jay?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Steven?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. If I could have a motion to adopt the agenda, please.
Moved.
Seconded.
Blake?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes. That was you? Okay.
Yes.
Steven?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Okay. All right, under reports and comments, Anna and Lisa, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Lisa Weigel, and this is Anna Corpy, and we're here to give you an update on the Alexander Inclusive Playground Project.
So we just want to update you about the phases that we're in, give you a fundraising update, a design update, and then talk a little bit about the community build, and then the next phase of our campaign, all in 5 minutes or fewer. As a reminder, these are the areas of the playground, and I'm sorry, I have a cold, so my voice is a little, but area 1 is immediately behind the cafeteria, which is the part we've been focusing on. Area 2 is across the blacktop in the back, and both of those are for 1st through 5th graders. And then area 3 is out front, which most people have seen because driving pickup or drop off, and that's the pre-K kindergarten space. So those are the 3 areas. And as we've announced this fall, these are our phases, which we call play. And we just wanted to show you where we're at. So that area 1, big structure and some things around it, we have fundraised for that. And then in progress is the fundraising for the other side equipment and the surfacing, both sides at once. And the surfacing is a rubber surfacing, which is accessible. So we have been fundraising for the surfacing for Area 1. And so it's a little confusing. We're kind of jumping around the letters a bit based on what makes the most sense for the build. So after raising all the money for the equipment, which is about $131,000 plus the $80,000 match from Little Tykes by Christmas time, we debated what should be our next move, the other equipment or the surfacing for that space. And so we decided, let's go for the surfacing because it would actually save time and money, even though we had thought to just focus on equipment. So this is just a mural that the kids made. So we had this idea to represent the 7,200 square feet of rubber surfacing we needed, which is approximately $155,000. And then as we raised funds, the children drew pictures and filled in this blank space. So those are 7,200 mini squares. And they had this big hallway display, and some kids wrote things, some kids drew pictures. We had some logos up there, and it was a really fun from what we've heard, because we're not in the school, but what we've heard from the teachers and the staff is that kids really enjoyed that. And so the update is we made our goal and we posted a video on Facebook today. If you haven't seen our Facebook page, there's a really fun video that is now full. And I don't know why we didn't put a picture of the full one. I apologize. This is the total amount of cash raised. It's just over $300,000. That includes the $80,000 match from Little Tykes. And then, oh, sorry, no, it doesn't. It doesn't include that. And then we also got the match. So the total we have is $386,000. And then that doesn't count some in-kind donations. And the things that we wanted to highlight about the fundraising. So over 100,000 of that was from grants and foundations. So we wrote grants, we talked to people with family foundations or business foundations. 71,000 of that was from mostly local businesses and canisters that they put out at their counter, and kids collected and teachers collected. So that's a pretty significant amount and really shows a lot about how much the businesses care about Alexander. 22,000 of that was fundraisers that might have been put on by the school, such as Change for a Change campaign, the PTO umbrella sale, and then also people ran fundraisers for us, like Mitzi Lou's restaurant or the Chipotle restaurant. And then the rest, or the largest share of the remainder, almost 60,000, was from small donations, from $5 to 5,000, from just people in our community, but also outside our community. We had a lot of people out of state, even 50. We had 50 donors out of state donate to this project. And the reason I want to point that out is because I think this is a larger movement, a larger mission that really touches a lot of people, and a lot of people have connections to people of all different abilities. And so I just kind of wanted to show the breadth of the campaign and how people care about it from even over state lines. And it wasn't just asking parents from the Alexander district for money. That's not how we raised this money. This is how the money was raised. But the Alexander parents did donate, and I mean, every quarter that they sent in, or $5 bill for the Change for Change, or umbrella that their kids sold, totally made a difference and impacted our success. So we really want to thank the Alexander families for all that they've done, but show that people far and wide care. And then we were worried about overhead. We had to make copies, we had to pay for a website, so we actually applied for other grants that don't pay for playground equipment, but pay for those things. So we actually haven't spent a single dime of anyone's donation toward those things. Every single penny that people have given in a box, at the canister, in a grant is going towards the equipment. And 12,000 of separate grants from Ohio Health, Voinovich School, Athens County Foundation, those are paying for some of that overhead, that, thank you cards, stamps, stuff like that. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. And we've had over 400 people donate. Okay, so quickly, this is the old playground. Swing set, structure, and in the back, the beloved tire swing, which is not going to be here next year.
No more tire swing.
If any kids are listening, we are sorry. But I think the teachers are probably going to be pretty happy about that one. So this is the new playground. And one thing that we learned from this process is that inclusivity, an inclusive playground, means a variety of options for all children of all abilities. It does not mean every single thing has to be wheelchair accessible, or every single thing has to be good for a child with autism, or every single thing has to cater to a child with ADHD or visual impairment. So we really are trying to shoot for multiple activities and choices with multiple levels of risk and challenge for each child, no matter the ability. And this is just one side. We have a working design for side 2, which we're not showing tonight because it's a draft. And after teachers and students give us feedback on this side, we might make some amendments to the working design we have.
Just to add
Yeah.
really quickly, another thing that was really important to us was peer play. We wanted everybody to play together. And so if you see the monkey bars, you'll see that there's able-bodied monkey bars next to monkey bars where a wheelchair user or a mobility device user could use. So our goal is for everybody to be together. There's also going to be a quiet cove, and I'm not.
That's the next
is that-
picture.
okay.
Right? Yep.
Oh, okay.
In the far corner.
Let me see
Oh, yeah.
if I can do this. Right here. Oh, I guess you can't see it. But way back in the corner, there's a quiet cove. So that's for kids who are overstimulated and need some quietness at recess time. We found a home for that this week. So that was our last piece of equipment that we needed to find a place, and we found that place for it this week. And we're happy with where it's going, and we hope the kids will be as well, and teachers.
Because not every child wants to play at recess. Some children want to retreat, and that's okay. and some children want independent play. So, and then one other thing, what's wonderful and beautiful about the committee is, for example, if you see the chinning bars, the teachers were like, don't lose the chinning bars. But then Mr. Maskeel said, but you could do the therapeutic rings at the bottom level. So a child in a wheelchair or mobility device can still reach the chinning bar. And so it's little things like that where you have this variety of play for things that are familiar and loved by the community. Okay, so now that we have the money and we have the equipment, who's going to build it? Well, that's where you all come in. We're hoping you all sign up on your way out the door. I'm only half serious about it.
But if you sign up, you get a shirt.
Yes, so
Like this?
we're featuring our shirts tonight. We just got these in, and we're hoping board members volunteer. That would be lovely. And the community, we are asking if you can donate 4 hours of your time for a morning or afternoon shift between June 10th and June 21st, Monday through Friday. Unfortunately, we have to do it during working hours because of Little Tykes. The installation quote was $111,000. By doing a community build with volunteers, we are saving that money because we're getting people to volunteer equipment and their time instead. So we're trying to be very mindful of costs. The big play structure, it was on sale, 50%. That's where the match came in. We didn't buy the most expensive, the most bells and whistles. We looked for the deals. And so also the stone. They wanted to go haul stone from a quarry in Cincinnati. And I was like, let's see what we can get from Diamond Stone and call the headquarters and see if they can donate some. So we are really trying to cut costs wherever we can. Here are some volunteer groups. We just got a huge group from the Copperheads, which we talked to them today. Parsons Land Clearing and Excavating Service is taking out all the mulch. They actually reached out to us and asked to help, which was great. Tom has been really helpful. Demco Constructions leading the first week of the build. Christ Community next door is actually taking the equipment because old equipment, because we don't want to throw it in the garbage. We'd rather repurpose it. And typically churches are the ones who do that just because they have some different rules and stuff. So they are going to come next week and start removing Area 1 equipment. Right Away Moving Companies volunteering a couple days, the trustees of our township. We just had yesterday the girls varsity soccer team here at Alexander. They're sending some team members, and then Hocking Valley Bank, OUCU, Ohio Health. But that sounds like a lot, but we still need basically as many as we have. We've sort of half filled our slots. So calling one and all, if you can come. It's going to be a party, free T-shirts and lunch included if you work a whole day. And then you can sign up really easily on this website, which is on Facebook. Both the Alexander Local Schools Facebook page posted this and our Facebook account. But it's also the URL. You can literally Google it and you'll find it.
And also, while we're working so hard on Area 1 right now and excavating it and rebuilding it, we're also thinking about Area 2. 2 grants, one each that Anna and I applied to, we learned last week were approved. We have $26,000 from the Aladdin Shriners, which was approved last week, and immediately after the Sisters Health Foundation, we learned that that grant as well was approved for $25,000. So that money is going to be going to Area 2.
So we've already got a running start in Area 2. We're super excited about that. And there's a couple more grants that we will learn about by the end of the summer that we've applied for. And those are some pictures from things from Area 2. And then we close with this. Do you want to read it? No. You go. Okay. You do it.
The one argument for accessibility that doesn't get made nearly often enough is how extraordinarily better it makes some people's lives. How many opportunities do we have to dramatically improve people's lives just by doing our job a little better? And that was Stephen Krug.
And Lisa and I can identify, we both have children in wheelchairs, and it's really hard when something as simple as a ramp or something as simple as a play experience that they can access or something as simple as poured rubber makes their play or their living experience so much better. And that's it. If anyone wants to contact us,
Please do.
in many ways.
There's many ways. Thank you for listening to our update.
You. Well, on behalf of the board, thanks for all of your effort. I'm always amazed, and it dates back to when a different group was working on raising money for the ARC. Just when you think you've reached a dead end, all of a sudden, another avenue comes open and there's more money that's donated. So I would say that if you ever get to that point, and I'm not saying you have, but don't give up, because it happened with the ARC. There was a last minute $100,000 donation all those years ago that came in just out of the blue. And keep up the good work and keep shaking the trees.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys got
If you
comment?
don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hopefully I don't blow out the speakers this time. So having the chance to be a part of what you've been doing over the last year and change, thank you. It is amazing, the two of you, the group that you've galvanized, and the reach that you've taken from 2 people to hundreds, and gone to businesses and drawn them in and drawn the community in like nothing I've seen before. It's really been amazing to be part of, and happy to keep doing it. But thank you. I don't know how those 2 words can even sum it up well enough, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Okay, Kim's got our 5-year forecast that she's going to present. So Kim, it's all yours.
All right, thanks. This is the 5-year forecast. It's required by ODE to update every 6 months for your operating account, which is the general fund. These are projections for fiscal year 24 through 28. The forecast is a planning tool used to help make sound decisions. These amounts are as of today, what we know now. Next slide. This is our current fiscal year, which is fiscal year 24. Fiscal years run July 1 of one year to June 30th of the next year. So this July 1 beginning balance is July 1, 23. And the June 30th is the ending June 30th, 24, next month. So these projections are pretty close to the actual amounts they're going to be. We're a month away. Next slide. Fiscal year 24, this is the revenue that we've received for the school year. It's broken out into 3 groups: local taxes, state funding, other revenue. Local taxes include real estate taxes, which we did get a slight increase of $200K. Income tax line on there is the levy. That's the levy revenue. State funding is mainly from the Fair School Funding Plan. Other revenue includes interest, which is still up. We're getting about, on average, $50,000 a month on that, so that's why other revenue is so high. The next slide. This shows the current fiscal year, FY24, expenses. Okay, so ODE requires this to be filed on the operating account, which is the general fund. But here at Alexander, we are unique, and we have the school-wide pool. Most districts don't have that. We make transfers each month in our monthly meeting to the school-wide pool from the general fund. Then we pay the elementary staff from the school-wide pool. So I took the transfers from the school-wide pool and added them to each category where they should have been, as salaries and benefits and such, so you could get an actual comparison of how our costs really look. So just remember, in a few slides when we go into the detail, they're not going to match back to this because the school-wide pool amounts will be in the transfer line. That's how they're required to be reported. And then the next slide is a summary. This is for visuals. This is with the levy. That little peachy color is the levy revenue. So if you look at fiscal year 26, which is just over a year away, because July starts 25, you can see that without the peach, the expenses, the gray column, is going to pass the revenue, the black column. And the next slide, this shows us the same thing in numbers. These amounts are as of today. They are projections. This is if we stay as we are today. Everything stays the same. With any forecast, the farther out you project, the harder it is to predict. The forecast is a good planning tool. It allows us time to plan, react to what we see is coming. We talk about FY24 above in detail, and FY25 starts in July of 24. So the top box is without the renewal levy and where we will be, and then the bottom three lines is where we could be if we have a levy. You look at FY26 is where we start deficit spending without the renewal of the levy. And this next slide is detailed line by line, so you can. And it's on the operating account, the general fund. The school-wide pools are in that operating transfer outline, which is 2 lines up from the highlighted line. This is shown by fiscal year. I just want to remember, fiscal years run July to June. So basically 24 is over, and we're going to start FY25. This is the slide I was talking about, won't tie back to the other slide. If you look under revenue, the income tax line, that is the current levy that will expire in December. You can see how the revenue is going to decrease. And if you go to the bottom and go the third line up, that is new levy money. If we would renew this levy, that's what would come in. So we already talked about operating transfers out, school-wide pool money. The operating transfers in is money that we receive from our debt service fund to pay for the energy conservation notes. And that's going to be paid off in FY25. That was a 2010 energy project you did here. If we look down under expenditures, capital outlay is where we pay some of the larger projects from, and we have a capital plan. In FY25, we plan to replace the elementary roof. That's why it's a little higher. And FY27, we plan on replacing chillers. That could change. They may not make it to FY27. That's why we say these amounts are as of today, what we know right now. In the FY25, there is included reductions for people that's retiring this year. Mr. Hampton's been talking about for the past few months, not replacing those, and the unexpected large increase that we just came into, which Mr. Hampton's going to speak about here in a little bit. But these two items kind of offset each other, and it looks like little to no savings for FY25 because of the offset of the reductions we made, but then the hit we took. So, Mr. Hampton's going to go into detail on that.
Jim, we'll ask the
Sure.
similar question I did last time. I don't understand, when we look at the 5-year outlook, why are we seeing, it looks to be over $1.5 million decrease in revenue from 2025 to 2026, and that's in the section without the levy. I mean, it looks to me, fiscal year 2025, 21,746,059, and then 2026, 20,169,108. what's the explanation for the,
from
1.5.
25 to 26.
yeah,
If you look on the detail line, you can see how the income tax rate is going down. So in 24, we have 2.1 million.
so from 25 to 26, you're expecting, well, that says without the levy, though.
Yeah, yeah, without the levy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
so
then that
down below
continues-
shows if we would
and that
get the,
continues to go down through 2028 each year, right?
Mhm.
So you're expecting levy monies to come in through 2028?
yeah, if you look on the income tax line here, you can see what's projected out. Tax year, we pay taxes a year behind, so
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna get some collection, even though in 25, that's for 24. Does that
So,
make,
so when we're seeing that go down, that's still, even without the levy, we're still seeing some money come in
That's-
from
yeah.
that until 2028?
yeah,
Okay.
leftover and delinquent collections and those kind of things.
So Kim, so up top, that's showing the levy going away.
Yes,
But then down at the bottom in the box,
yeah, the third line up,
that's if a renewal
yes.
would come into play, then you're
That would
adding
be
that back
new
in.
levy. That would be
Okay.
new, so it would add with that up at the top,
Okay,
if we would get a new one.
okay. So
So it
total
starts-
revenue,
You know, it wouldn't start out at 2 million. You know, your first year, we're only gonna collect a few 100,000
so
and then build up.
the current levy is on the books until the end of this year. We'll all file our taxes in April, and there'll still be some collections next year
Yes.
that we'll receive.
Yes,
Okay. And then if it falls off completely, you're still anticipating, some people on extension, people that don't
Yes.
file, that say, hey, I haven't filed my taxes in 3 years, I better file them, and
yeah,
you're just projecting a little bit of revenue filtering in each of those fiscal years.
yes.
Okay. Well, I think it's key to just keep beating the dead horse, which, I don't know, this is year 7 for me on the board, and Josh as well. The dead horses, we're still flat funded by the state. I mean, it's, and we all know expenses are going up. I mean,
Yes.
we can talk and beat that dead horse too. I mean, you
Yes.
just can't go anywhere and do anything without paying a lot more for
Correct.
everything, and the school's not immune to that.
Right,
So just, again, pointing out the obvious, but
yeah,
that's where we're at, and we've been that way ever since I've been on the board.
And it preceded us, for that matter, too. It's
Yep.
been, 20 years of funding formulas that have been considered not adequate or even not unconstitutional.
yes.
The naming changes, but as far as what we see, doesn't change.
not
We
good.
remain well under the guarantee,
Yes,
and we're not going to get off of it anytime soon. The help's not going to come from the state funding level. And
No.
the current biennial was just this year, right?
last
Didn't they-
year, so
didn't
it'll
they
be in
renew?
25.
Okay,
It'll
renewed
we'll have a new
into
one for
fiscal
25.
24. Okay, so there's a new one coming up. Nothing's going to change there, otherwise we'd all know it already. So we've got another 2 years guaranteed of this sort of funding. And you can pretty much expect it's going to go well beyond that, but 2 years guaranteed.
Question on,
Sure.
on the revenue for, specifically the property tax. When you do that, do we forecast that out at a flat dollar amount, or is there some sort of formula where we do the average increase of people moving into the community, homes built, things like that, or is that an upside for us? So if we build 300 houses in the next 5 years, because of a job coming or something like that, is there any sort of formula, or is it based off of flat what we're getting now with the,
Pretty much flat, and then a little bit for trends, from past trends, so.
so there's a little
But-
bit for trend, but most of all it's flat, so,
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
And then one more on the expenses, and I think you covered a chunk of it here when you had other expenditures. I think there was 30% on the original graph, or 25.5%, and now it's at 13. That was moved from general fund, so it's moving from one fund to another to pay the elementary staff and things like that, right? So there's 13% left. What are a couple of the items that's in that?
13% up.
You're showing other expenditures on
That-
your graph.
It's 13% of total expenses.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
encompassed in that 13%?
And the other,
Just, I don't need every little detail. I was just curious, is it,
yeah. Yeah, supplies. Things
so
like
it's just
that,
things
so-
like that, it's just your
Yeah.
general, okay.
Yeah.
I have another question, and
Mm-hmm.
this is just me trying to understand how this works, and,
Yeah.
and maybe some of just the education I need to do here. But when you look at, there was one that you'd sent out to all of us earlier, and it talked about projected compared to historical variances. And the one that really struck out was a purchase services. It seemed like it was really high as far as, compared to historical. And I was just wondering why is that so high? I mean, that's the biggest, that's bigger than salaries, benefits, or anything. Why is that so high?
Purchase services.
Yeah. It's under a
Yeah, I don't
heading
see
of
that either.
historical actual average annual dollar change compared to 5-year projected. And it's got salaries, benefits, purchase services, supplies, materials, capital outlay, and a few others there. And all those purchase services was the highest. And I was trying to understand what that means and what
This
that is.
He's looking at the 5-year financial report that
Yeah,
was
I-
emailed out rather than this
Yeah, the
document.
detailed- I didn't,
You want to see it?
I didn't bring it with me, I'm sorry. Yeah, because when I look at this, it doesn't. Oh, yeah, these are the historical changes. It's saying on an average, it changes 281,000. In these purchase services, we had a lot of like our ESC cost and things in there, where we,
So does that mean we're planning on spending more in purchase services than we were?
no, we've been working on reducing that.
So why is that variance so high compared to historical averages? Is that, to me, I would think a variance would be a difference in historical averages.
Yeah.
Is that right? The variance, is that what that's looking at? I guess that's the first question I'm asking.
Yeah.
That print's too small for me to read.
I know.
Okay, but I will say that I would be surprised if our purchase services exceeded our salaries.
Yeah, they do.
Our
it's-
purchase,
They
not
do,
what I'm
the
saying.
change does.
Yeah, it's saying that compared to, the way I understand that, Kim, and again, this is where I need to be educated on it possibly, is it says variance compared to historical averages. And the variance,
Trying to
change,
compare.
to me, that would mean the change
change.
compared to that is the highest change that we're seeing there. And I'm just trying to understand, why are we spending so much more for purchase services than we would have historically, if I understand the terminology correct?
We're not. Purchase services has gone down, from when we
So where
started,
does
so
that,
I guess.
where does
yeah, I
that
don't-
come from? Is that just a program that?
Yeah.
Okay, can you find out for me?
Absolutely.
What that is and
Yeah.
what that means exactly?
Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Anything else? We go
you got
on?
another page.
Couple, okay. The next slide is on cash balances, and there's some key performance indexes, factors that we use to measure to the cash balance, such as 1/12 of annual spending, 2 months of salary and benefits. If you look at the dotted yellow line, I know they're close, they're hard to see, is the cash balance in fiscal year '26. And the blue line is the the cash balance for 28. The top two boxes are with the levy, and the bottom two boxes are without the levy. So if you look without the levy, you can see how close to that blue line we're getting with 2 months of payroll. You can see the cash balance, the days of cash on hand. You can see how fast it's going down. And then the last slide, just one thing to leave you with, a little visual on deficit spending. The renewal levy is the blue bar, and without the levy, the orange bar. You can see clearly in 26, we're gonna outspend our revenue.
And again, to reiterate, this is if we stay as we are.
Yes. As
Mind
of
is
today,
the people who are retiring this year.
Yes, they've been
Those have been
factored in.
factored in.
Okay.
So the cost, just to be clear, the cost cutting through attrition that we're implementing
talked
now,
about, yep.
those are baked into the
They are
numbers
in there.
already? Okay.
Yep.
Currently, with or without the levy, will deficit spend starting in 27.
Well, 26 without.
But even with it, we're going to in
With-
27.
Yes,
Okay.
minimally, but yes.
Yep.
I just want to make a quick comment. I
Yeah.
know a lot of people, and rightfully so, I mean, the property taxes this year that we all saw, at least in Athens County, the increase was substantial. Just remember that the school doesn't, we get maybe half of that increase. So in dollar terms, I think we got about 200,000 extra dollars in property tax revenue this year,
Correct.
which we're thankful for, but compared to what the taxpayers in our district actually paid to the county for property taxes, the amount that came back to the school increased approximately 200,000. And while that is, you know, a sizable number compared to a $21 million budget, it's not a lot. So I want to point that out because I know a lot of people have been griping to me about their property tax bill and thinking that the school gets it all.
No.
And unfortunately, we do not. So I wanted to make that point is all.
Can I add for the sake of clarification, that was not levied by the school either. That's purely at a valuation that was put upon
Right.
the existing. We did benefit from it, but that was not levied by us.
Correct.
Yeah, in fairness to the auditor's office, when I mean, what they valued your property at, while it is hard to stomach, if you sold your property, I can almost guarantee you're going to get more than what they have it valued at. When I get my property tax bill, I would growl at the amount that it was and the amount that it increased. However, when I look at how much they have that house valued at, I know it's worth more and it will sell for more than that. So I can't go into the auditor's office and argue because I know the valuation's lower. Now, that doesn't pay the property tax bill if you don't sell your property, I understand, but that's, it dates back to the 90s when that's why school funding was deemed unconstitutional, is because it's valued on real estate, and other districts have more valuation, and that's why it was, in a nutshell, kind of deemed unconstitutional. But guess what? 30 years later, we're still using that same formula. So I just wanted to make it clear that, yes, the school did see an increase, roughly $200,000 in change, and we'll gladly use that, but it's not going to be a miracle cure-all for a loss of levy revenue.
Batter up.
Next up, all right. Mr. Rice, Mr. Blick, I'm going to stand up. You guys just try to keep up. All right, so you just heard Ms. Napper talk about the 5-year forecast. And so all of it, we know that our revenue's changing.
I know we've seen this part of it. I'm just gonna slide over there. That's all right.
Okay, we know that our revenue is changing, and there are a lot of things that come into play there. It is not a fixed process. It is something that we have to work through, just like this year. You need me to take a microphone? All right. This isn't karaoke night, so don't get your hopes up. Anyway, more seriously, our financial situation is constantly changing. That happens on a regular basis. It happened when we learned that we had an additional $200,000 in revenue for our property taxes. Okay, this was not forecast in the November 5-year forecast. Since that time, things have changed, both for the better and for the worse. We ready? We've got two factors. And one, obviously, we just talked in general terms about the levy. Levy is an important decision. That's something that I'm hoping we're going to make tonight. Decide whether to put the levy on or whether to leave it off. It is the last attempt for that levy as a renewal. The other factor that's changing is because our finances have changed, the negative piece that I haven't talked about is our health insurance. We anticipated about a 10% increase in our health insurance premiums this year. That changed dramatically. Instead of a 10% increase, which was budgeted, which would have been about $300,000, we received a 29% increase in our health insurance. That is $500,000 more than anticipated. So the benefit of the property tax increase is washed away with the increase of the premiums. Ms. Napper went through some of this before, but I'll touch on it again. You can see very clearly the different colors in the graph. The levy revenue is the flesh colored, if you will, part of the bar graph, and the others are expenses and revenue. And you can see that those do change. And over the course of time, it begins to impact our cash reserve. Now, compared to last November, our cash reserve is healthier. So you can go ahead and change that. If you're a numbers person, you can see it in the numbers. This top graph is with the levy renewing. This bottom graph is with the levy being not on the ballot or not renewed. As you go further out, these are projections. They're the best. I don't want to say guess. They are the best that we can do with the information that we have as to what our finances will be. Originally, back February, Marchish, we talked about how we were going to react to our current situation. First off, we talked about reducing spending through attrition. I believe we can do that this calendar year to the tune of $400,000 to $500,000. That's going to help us. That helped our bottom line compared to November. That combined with the property tax helped our bottom line in spite of the health insurance premiums. We're going to try not to fill vacancies, and then again in the following year do the same, another $500,000 or so. And we'll talk about attempting to pass the levy, the last attempt to renew it. That for tonight, this is probably one of the key decisions. What are we going to do? And this is where I ask for the board. Okay, this is where we get to talk about things, and I know it's a challenge, and sometimes we have these conversations in our executive session, but we also need to have those in public. It's our last chance to renew this on the ballot. If we wait beyond this November date, this levy goes away, and then it becomes a new levy and new money, which possibly means a new definition and a new approach. Generates about 2.2 million. It's a key component in our contract negotiations. We have both of our union or association reps here tonight, so it has a play in that. If we place it on the ballot, we talk about a 1-year contract. I would be comfortable with that, but if you told me tonight that we're going to put it on the ballot and that we wanted to pursue a longer-term deal, we could do that. If we don't place it on the ballot, then let's just go right to a multi-year deal. We know where we stand financially. We can plan accordingly. Implications, if we place it back on the ballot, the community gets to have a final say. Last chance. Allows our staff to defend the programs, the opportunities that we present, the extracurriculars, the academics. And it demonstrates that the board believes that this is necessary. This thing cuts out repeatedly. This is necessary for us to offer a rich and fulfilling learning environment for our kids. If it's not placed on, it can accelerate the pace of reducing staff and programs. I have said it before, if you've heard me speak in the levy, that our people are our programs. The things that we're able to offer because we are a service industry, it is based on our people. Our people, though, also are where our greatest expense lies. Almost 80% of our budget is in our people. So then it would also give the except that we would lose some families to extracurricular and curricular options if they were eliminated or changed. People come to us because of what we offer. Gives a perception that the resources that we had before weren't necessary to offer a rich and fulfilling environment, but it does allow, if we don't put it back on the ballot, it allows us to just move forward. We plan accordingly, we know where we are. So for that, I will ask for a decision from the board. Not in this moment right here, but as we move through the meeting. Academic, if we start talking about our programs, I mentioned our people are our programs. These are not things that are scripted, but these are things that can happen. We increase our class sizes, we modify our special ed services, we look to more special ed services that are closer to maximum caseload, fewer electives, meaning the alternative subjects that kids have to take. We look at reducing clubs and some of our field trips, other extras, and less remediation report from our support from our fellows. If you go back one. If you're not familiar with what the fellows are, this year we have 6 fellows. Fellows are graduate students from Ohio University. They're half-time students, and they are a bargain for us. We get a half-time graduate student for about $15,000. This year we have 6, but we're paying for 4. We get 2 of them free through the university for working with the university. They offer support and intervention for our kids. They do the small group pullouts. They allow for some staffing moves so we can do some other group work. it's a really nice benefit for our kids. Next year, we had to commit earlier than anticipated before we got to this point on how many we were going to take next year. Next year, we're just going to take 4, but we're only going to pay for 2. We still get 2 free. So we're taking advantage of that, but to a lesser extent, to save money for our people. Some of our operations, if you start reducing staff, you start looking at, we have a really large campus. How do we keep up with all of that? How do we keep up with all our sports, keeping fields lined? Access to our ARC. If we have to, right now we man the ARC for 3 hours in the evening for our community. That is a custodial position. If we have to start looking to reduce staff, we have to start looking to reduce custodial staff as well. We may have to pull that person from the ARC and put that person into the building and eliminate the access to the community outside of school hours. These are all just possibilities. They're not nothing that I'm talking about here has been ironed out and said, we're going to change our rotation on the cleaning schedule. Buses could have more students, longer routes, slower lines in the cafeteria. And just a sidebar, something that you may not consider, right now we offer a wide variety of fresh fruits and vegetables. If we have to reduce our staffing, we have to look at maybe more prepackaged options. They're easier to do. School fees are a common thing in most public schools. People pay for consumables, for classwork, all of that. If there are extra special things, they pay for that as well. In my time here, we've not had school fees, and I believe for a long period of time before I came, school fees were never a part of the discussion or never a requirement for families. But shifting some of that burden to our community, if we lose that levy, this is a real possibility. Participation for extracurricular, a nice saying, that is a nice way to say pay for play. If we get into a worst case scenario and we start looking at second rounds of cuts, it really starts to get hard and it gets very, very personal, changes things. We look at extracurriculars, regular curriculars. We follow the same practices we always do in reviewing retirements and attrition, people who leave. But we start reverting to offering more basic educational options. Classroom and academic, obviously it's going to impact teachers. Again, that's the bulk of our staff. That's the meat of our organization, and that's where you have to go for those changes. We start looking at our extras like foreign languages, FFA, CCP classes. You talk about assignments. High school teachers have flexibility with their licensure that allow them to do more junior high and high school classes. So you continue to further reduce. It's not pleasant, okay, but it's something that we have to consider going down the road. Operational, if you look at things you do operational, transportation to state minimums. Our curricular purchase, this year we were fortunate. The timing of all of this came for us. We were still healthy at the moment. We were able to purchase what I feel is a rich curriculum for our language arts. Kids have to be able to read. We were able to do that, purchase what we wanted and we felt was appropriate, not just a base level need. We started looking at less preventative maintenance, be more reactionary, run things till they break, and then replace them. We have a schedule to replace things that need to be replaced, but then we start pushing that out, and we become very reactionary. And we talk about closed open enrollment. Open enrollment is It's an interesting little piece. Because we're on the guarantee, right now we don't receive anything for our kids who come to us. They just come to us. Now, people have asked, well, why do we continue to do that? In my opinion, well, factually, we get 230 kids come to us. 230 kids come to us from other school districts because they want to be here. That's important. 130 kids leave. We are 100 kids to the good. Those 230 kids want to be here. I think they are an enrichment to our culture. I think they have a desire to be here. They add to what we have, and they help us. But that is something we have to consider. If you take 230 kids, and these are just rough and round numbers, you divide them out over the whole course of an educational experience, you're roughly 20 kids per grade. It's not always that easy. That starts adding up to people if we really get into dire situations. Now, what are your problems? All right. I don't know what to do with this mic. What are our priorities? I don't know any way that you can stand here and say any of these things are unimportant. There's one on here that is important. There really isn't a cut or a reduction, but it's timing. The timing of all of this is terrible. The last day of school is tomorrow. So we have to really keep that in mind. We talk about the impact. All of this is going to be felt. It's going to be felt by our staff, obviously, when we start reducing. But it's not only in just losing the people, it's the additional responsibilities that come with it. It'll be felt by our students if we start reducing the curricular options and the extracurricular options. How much of it is going to be felt by the community? If we start adding fees, it impacts our school. If we start reducing staff, that impacts our community. If we reduce 6 or 7 teaching positions or support positions, those are jobs that could be in our community working, earning, and contributing to our school. So there are community impacts that are felt, even if it's not in a dollar sense. But then we start talking about transportation and all of this. Transportation, if we go to a 2-mile radius, we have a large portion of our kids come in on a bus. That'll change things. So all of these aspects will be impacted. We just have to decide how much and where. Originally, we talked about this, $400,000 to $500,000 in nutrition. If we accelerate it, how far are we going to accelerate it? Where do we point reductions? What do we protect? And so that's what we're here to talk about. And that's where I want to hear from the board. I'll put you on the spot, but I hope you've had some time to think about the things that you want to say and are important. We have to know tonight whether we're going to put a levy on. Granted, we have another month, but for me, in planning, I really need to know kind of where we're headed, especially as we go to the table. And if we're going to reduce, if we're going to change from the original plan, then I need to know by how much, so that we can get all this ironed out, because tomorrow is the last day of school. The timing is not ideal for that. If we were to go into the next year, we would talk about this in December, January. All of this kind of ran up on us now, so we're in the moment, and we've got to make some decisions about how we proceed. Questions, comments? It's a lot. It is a lot to take in. I'll do my best to answer any question you ask, and if I don't know it, I'll find out.
So if we could, we've got this supplemental discussion down under board business. Well, if we could we run through the business part of
Yep.
our meeting first, and then
Let's do that.
we'll have all that out of the way, and then we can talk levy, finances, and a path forward.
That works for me.
Does that work? You guys good with that?
For me, thank you, Will.
You had some cell phone center. Is that something you overlooked, or skip it?
Cell phones was on there just as a talking point. It's been in the media. It's totally off topic of what we've been talking about. But in talking with the high school, we're going to enforce the plan that we have in place. And maybe that's a reminder and some guidance from our high school administration. We do a good job in places, but our kids are spending way too much time on their cell phones, in social media. So as we open next year, we are going to have a more intense focus on that because it's an important part of their day. We'll evaluate it, and if we need to get tougher, then we'll get tougher. So there you go. What is the policy? Kids are not supposed to have them during instructional time. They are supposed to have them only in non-instructional times, which like the cafeteria, recess. For our junior high kids, though, I don't believe that they have them at all. And so it's good. It's working for junior high kids. High school gets a little harder, but I'm going to let the administrators administer or administrate. There you go.
Okay, one thing that was left off the agenda that right now would be public participation on agenda items. Is there anybody? There was nothing? Okay. Anybody? Okay. All right, so we're going to quickly move, if we could, to the business portion, and then we're going to come back and have an open discussion under board business. All right, treasurer's recommendations. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the minutes from the April 15th, 24 regular meeting.
So moved.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes?
Josh,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Aaron.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the financial statement for the month ending April 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Seconded.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Aaron.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the following transfers, and these are our normal monthly school-wide pool transfers.
So moved.
Seconded.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Aaron.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the after-the-fact invoices. It's to East Central ESC for $75,970, Jostin $7,371.69, and U.S. Bank Equipment Finance $12,462.
So moved.
Seconded.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Aaron.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the following dock days. I'm not going to read it.
So moved.
Second.
Got it.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Aaron.
It's recommended the Board of Education authorize and direct the treasurer to place a notice in the Athens Messenger, which reads substantially as follows. I will read this one. So it's going to be a public notice. The Alexander Local School District Board of Education hereby gives public notice in accordance with Section 3307.353 of the Ohio Revised Code that Dan Dosick, who is currently employed by the Board of Education as junior, senior high school assistant principal will be retired and seeking reemployment with the Alexander School District in the same position following his service retirement. The Board of Education will hold a public meeting on the issue of reemployment the above-named person at the meeting to be held June 26, 2024 at 7 p.m. Alexander Media Center, located at 6125 School Road, Albany, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
All right, moving on to superintendent's recommendations, it's recommended the Board of Education approve the substitute teachers / paraprofessionals as recommended by the Athens Meg ZSC superintendent.
Second. Sorry, motion.
Second.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
I'll abstain.
Aaron.
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education employ Chad Kopinski as play director for the 23-24 school year, pending his meeting all state and local requirements, and offer compensation at 1/2 the regular stipend.
So moved.
Seconded.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education grant contracts to the following administrators pending their meeting all state and local requirements. Rich Maskiel for 2 years and Abby Rouse for 3 years.
So moved.
Seconded.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
It's recommended Board of Education grant continuing contracts to the following per their enclosed request. Mr. Ford, Ms. Poston, and Ryan, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education accept the enclosed letter of resignation from Luke Sabo, JV baseball coach for the 23-24 school year, effective April 22nd, 24.
So moved.
Seconded.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education accept the resignation from the following supplementals for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Seconded.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education employ the following supplementals for the 24-25 school year, pending their meeting all state and local requirements and the constitution of a full team for the season.
So moved.
Second.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education accept the enclosed letters of retirement resignation from the following, Shauna Horvath and Claudette Saylor.
So
So
moved.
moved. Go ahead.
Moved.
I'll second.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
It's recommended Board of Education non-renew the following 23-24 school year supplemental contracts.
So moved.
Seconded.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the enclosed service agreement with Muskingum Valley ESC for the provision of orientation and mobility services for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Seconded.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the enclosed memorandum of understanding with the Athens County Sheriff's Office for the provision of a school resource officer for the 24-25 and 25-26 school years.
So moved.
Second.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the enclosed memorandum of understanding with ALEA regarding salary notices. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Blake,
Abstain.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Okay, that's the business portion of their meeting. So now we're going to shift gears and go right into business initiated by board members. I'm just going to open the floor to everyone to start discussing. I think first and foremost, Mr. Hampton needs some guidance from us for what our thoughts are on putting the levy on the ballot in November. If we do that, if we don't, that is something I think we have to decide tonight, a path forward, because it's holding up basically a path forward of knowing how our hands are going to be dealt and what we're dealing with on what we decide to do. So I'm going to open the floor for comments and just let the public know what we're thinking.
For the sake of being the first straw on the straw man, I think we need to be on the levy. We need to be on the ballot in November.
I will, I guess, give a little bit more on my thoughts in the fact that I think everybody in this building, connected to this building, knows there's something special in this building. That's why we have teachers here for 25, 30, 35 years that don't want to leave. We have students coming in, like we said, we have 100 more students coming here than leaving here. There's something special about this place, and I fear that reductions can cause us to lose that. People come to Alexander because of what we offer. They stay with Alexander because of what we are. And that's what I think a levy allows us to fight for. And so that's why I'm for putting it back on and continuing our fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the presentation that Will gave, you know, and to kind of echo what Blake said, you know, we do offer a higher level of education here at Alexander, and we're able to do that with just spitting facts. If you look at it, you know, we spend less per child than the majority, if not all, the schools around us. So we're able to do it with less. We've had it on the ballot twice now. It's been voted down by a pretty significant margin. So I think if it's something that goes on the ballot and if it's going to pass, it's something that we have to have a lot of effort put around. I think there was a select few that put some effort in these last two times, but I don't think it's anywhere near the effort that we need from the entire staff, the entire community, in order to get this thing passed. And you hear things that it's not going to affect us, you know, as Mr. Hampton just showed, it's going to affect everybody in this district if it doesn't go on. So I think it's just something to think about, that if we put this on the ballot, we need to go guns a-blazing and everybody needs to be on board.
We've had informal conversations, and I've told the group, I mean, I'll just be straight up with the public and with the staff. I have been on the fence on what to do here. I mean, I do talk to a lot of people in the community, and I've said it before. For some reason, people are pretty open with me, and they will tell me, I think,
what their true feelings are on certain things, and I don't know why that is, if it's just the accountant trust factor that they know that I'm not going to repeat what they say. But man, I've had a lot of people that do not support this levy. And I don't mean that to burst anybody's bubble. I actually told that to Mr. Hampton probably about a week before the March results, and I said, I'm not going to burst your bubble, Will, and I kind of did, because I mean it hurt Mr. Hampton when it came in as bad as it did, and that's why I have been struggling personally with what to do, because I don't want to jinx it, but if I'm speaking bluntly and realistic to you as the public, you've got a lot of work. We have a lot of work to do to get the public's perception of this school pointed back in the right direction. It is not good right now. And we went from 6 attempts to pass by 1 vote. 6 attempts. And we were a broken record every time. I mean, every time, every chance we could get, we'd put it back on. But the difference there, all those years ago, is twofold, in my opinion. In education terms, we were closing the gap each time with the levy. We were still losing, but we were swaying more people. Now, the pendulum it's stuck. It's stuck in the same position. And I'll be blunt. I want to thank again the people that put forth the effort in November and those that helped in March. But that effort, I have to say, it just pales in comparison to the effort that it took 5-6 years ago to get this to pass by 1 vote. There's been a lot of things happen in the last 5-6 years. Opinions have changed, feelings have hardened. It's not going to be an easy swing to get that to pass in November. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I also look at, if we put this on the ballot, it's in a way we're punting. We're punting those hard decisions 1 more year. But that's a long-winded way of coming to my point. I think back to my point of 5 or 6 years ago that I made public, because I caught flack when I first got on the board because I voted to put the levy on the ballot. People just thought, I guess, being an accountant, I'd be against it, and rah, rah, rah. But I said it then, and I've dwelled on this hard for the last 2 weeks. But if I were to vote no, then or if we as a board were to vote no, then the 5 of us has made the decision for the district of how the district is going to be funded going forward. So if I vote yes, all I'm doing is presenting it to the voters. We have no authority other than to vote yes. We want to put it on the ballot 1 more time to try to make it a renewal of what we have. And that's why I've waffled a lot. I've told the guys, I said, man, I'm on the fence on this. I mean, do I think it's going to pass? It's going to be hard. It's going to take a monumental effort to get it to pass. But I think we got to try. With the hard decisions that Mr. Hampton pointed out, of all the potential cuts that will come down the pike if it doesn't pass, it's going to be hard for me to look the staff in the eye and say, we did everything we could to save your position. So for that, I mean, I am willing to put it on, I'm willing to vote yes to put it on the ballot. I mean, we have to do it. In my opinion, that's just, I'm 1 vote, but those are my soapbox commentary, and I'll step off now.
I just wanted to comment on a just a couple things. The idea of us punting hard decisions, or us making the say. First of all, that is our decision to make that, whether or not we want to continue to fight. And I'm willing to make that decision. As far as punting goes, I don't see it a punt. I'm saying, are we willing to go on it 4th down? And do we have the linemen in place that are willing to drive forward? I think we do. I think just the communication of what potentially was on the docket for this evening has already stirred that pot, ignited that flame, blew on those embers, and I see it there. And so the phone calls I received of how people are ready to fight for this. I think, I hate to say I'm encouraged, but hell, I am. And I'm willing to do it with you. So I will make the motion to approve a resolution requesting certification of alternative tax rates for a renewal income tax.
We still, Mr. Ramsey hasn't spoken. And I think it's important. I think it's really.
I think I've made myself pretty clear over the past 6 months or so.
I know that, but I think we need just conversation about where people are, and understand there's a lot at stake, and there are a lot of people that feel threatened at the moment, and I don't want them to feel that way right now. We are not in a catastrophic failure. We are not at a cliff. We will have to make changes. Those changes are important. They don't all have to happen in one moment, but we got to be able to look ahead and say, okay, this is where we're headed, and these are the things we have to do. But I think everyone having an opportunity to speak, and I think is important. And I don't want to put you on the spot, Aaron. You've asked some wonderful questions leading up to this, and I think they stirred my mind to think about other things in a little bit different way too. But you guys give me direction. If you tell me we're going to do it, great. Then again, as was said, it isn't going to happen with 5 people in a Facebook account. Okay, it's not going to happen with 5 people in a Facebook account. That's not going to drive it. It's going to take effort, and words need to turn to action is what's going to have to happen. But again, you go ahead.
I've made myself pretty clear over the past 6 months on how I feel about our school and the funding and how we need the funding, and ultimately it's up to the Alexander School District to make that decision, and you know, we can't count on anybody but each other to support our school and our kids and our neighbors. And I have a lot of the same feelings that Jay does, I believe, because, you know, on one hand we'll say, well, let the community have the final say. Well, the community said twice no. And they said no more so last time than we did the first time. And so I value that input that we got from them. And I feel like those people should be heard too. And I think sometimes when we're in this position, it's easy to hear the people that are directly involved with the school, and it's easy just to listen to those, but I think when you listen to all the community members. That being said, again, I've said it before, I get a little emotional talking about this because we are talking about the opportunities for our kids to be successful. And I don't want to go too much further because I'm going to get emotional, but I, like Jay said, I think we got to give it a shot.
If you guys will entertain it for a second.
Yeah, good.
My attempt to take the temperature of the room totally failed at the beginning. So let me give my reasoning a few minutes or a few thoughts as well. So the monumental effort, I'll echo what you guys have said, is going to be required. It's going to be as much as we've ever done before, and it's going to require everybody to be part of that. I will take a different tact. I don't think it's about flipping votes. I think you're right. I think the pendulum is stuck. The needle is stuck pretty much in entrenched camps.
Yeah, I will concur. It's not about flipping. People are entrenched. It's going to be turnout.
So if you're in the yes camp, this is your opportunity to be heard. You must be galvanized. You must get out. I think that is where the difference can be made. It's a small investment in funds for us to go onto the ballot. And what we're risking immediately if we don't go on the ballot is at least a year before we see any funding. And we lose that entire opportunity cost of what we will lose in that year for our staff and for our kids. We may not be catastrophic right now, but we don't have 2-3 years before we hit catastrophic. We'll hit it fast. It'll accelerate quickly. So it's a small investment to go after giving that final chance for people to say yes. And until tonight, we really haven't publicly said, here's what's going on. Yes, we've talked about attrition, but we've never really talked what's the next round, what's the round after that, the things that are coming, should we not be on the ballot, or for that matter, should it be turned down in November. So now we have a reasonable understanding from what Mr. Hampton has shown us, what is very real and what is very likely to be coming at some level. So now we have that opportunity to turn to the public and say, now weigh your decision. And while you're weighing your decision, as I was thinking today, and as I've also talked with folks over the last few weeks, I can't help but play back the greatest hits in my mind. The things that we've heard in the past really are the same things we hear now. One of the things we hear is distaste for board members or policy of the board. Well, that started years ago, and sure, it continues now. Still hear it in the public. These faces are all different than when that began. These faces will be here for at least another 2 years. So if you want to say, I will never vote for it because of X face or Y face, you've got 2 more years, then you go on the ballot, you're at 4 years immediately before you have any funding come in. You've already crossed the cliff. You've already passed the event horizon. It's too late. I've heard the wasting money. Talk about the track. Well, we saved over $500,000 on the track just by going out and looking for bids. A guy there did within 2 weeks of starting. The ARC comes up all the time. We saved money on it by not overspending. And that was even before most of us were here. So again, that argument doesn't fly with me. It's just another excuse that isn't valid right now. State funding, write it off the board. We've already said it tonight. It's not going to change. Will not change enough to help us. Okay? Previous administration, transparency, those things still show up. We've made massive steps ever since we joined, and even since then. You know, our checks are out and open. We put a camera up. We never did that before. We take public participation twice. Never done that before. You know, this group and the group that was with us when we started have made those changes. So again, I'm sorry, I don't buy that argument. Brings me to my favorite one. Well, sorry, one other one. Traditional, conventional thinking. November's horrible. November never works. The general never works. We never pass anything. Look at the data from the last 2 to 3 years of levies in the state of Ohio. The conventional wisdom is gone. They passed more in November than they passed in the off cycles. They pass more in the generals than they do in the off cycles. It doesn't make sense. I don't care. Take advantage of it. Ride the wave and go after it. So now to my favorite. I simply don't want to pay taxes. You, my friends, if you say that, I honor you in your honesty. You are the only ones that of that list have been honest with us all. I won't try to change your mind. But everyone else that uses these other names, these other excuses, look yourself in the mirror and decide where you want to go. I'll be the one that's at your heels asking you why, because it's not valid. So, if you're a yes, I'm hoping in November you got a chance to have your name out there. Get your name out there. Get out in the community. We'll be right beside you.
Anybody else? I forgot to mention one piece of commentary, and this is, again, Jay's opinion only. But us trying to repeatedly pass the levy today it's drastically different than when we did it 6 years ago. There's just a lot of differences between 6 years ago. Of the biggest thing was educating the voters on what the levy was, what it was going to bring, and each time, each attempt up until attempt 6, again, we closed that gap, and there were more and more votes, and it finally passed. Now, after it's been in place for 5 years, most of the voters, they have a full understanding of what the income tax, the earned, and I'm going to stress earned income tax. So when it gets messed up again, and there's there's an issue with the Board of Elections. Sorry, guys, didn't mean not throw anybody under the bus, but we are seeking an earned income tax. It does not tax Social Security. It does not tax retirement. It does not tax investment income. If your tax return has that taxed, it was done wrong. I'm just going to be straight up with you. Amend your tax return. It only taxes self-employment income and wage, period. But most people understand that now. But we're also in a different economic environment than we were 6 years ago. Families are feeling that, but the school is also feeling it. So while I support trying one more time, I'm also going to listen to the voters that if it doesn't pass in November, Jay will probably, if again using Will's terms on the 5-year forecast, knowing what I know today, if it doesn't pass in November, I'm not going to put it on the ballot again myself. Then I will vote and say the voters have spoken. Unless it fails by 2 or 3 votes, or we close that gap significantly. At some point, we as a board have to listen to the community, whether we like the result or not. And I just wanted to put that out there, that while I am for putting it on in November, one more chance to renew this thing, to keep the revenue stream coming in. If the voters speak again in the same numbers they have, Jay is personally done. We're going to move forward as if we have no levy, and then the cuts, unfortunately, will have to come in full force. We don't know what they look like. I mean, trying to run a business, and this school, like it or not, is a business. Trying to run a business with an uncertain financial future, it's very difficult on the managers and the executives of a company. It's doubly hard on the school system. So I just wanted to be clear where I'm at, that if it doesn't pass in November, I'm willing to say at that point, after 3 attempts, I'm done. So I want to be out there. Transparency, that's been a buzzword for 7-8 years now. So I want to be transparent of where I'm thinking. Mr. Hampton's been asking for an honest discussion, and I think, at least with my rambling here, you guys should know, walking away tonight, where at least Jay stands. So is everybody good on rebuttals and commentary? If not, then I'll jump to Blake, because he did make a motion to.
So moved.
So Blake made a motion. I will second it.
Blake?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Steven?
Yes.
Karen?
Okay.
What are the
Talk to
options?
me about this one, because
All right.
this one you and I did not discuss.
This is related to what we've talked about. Originally talked about having a plan for this year to reduce $400,000 to $500,000. and for the following year to reduce an additional $400,000 to $500,000. The impact of the first round is noticeable, but if you feel, and this is just because our situation has changed, that $500,000 in insurance premium increase changes things, offsets some of the gains, but in Kim's forecast, you can see the offset. It wasn't as drastic as first thought. If we need to go further than that first round, you need to tell me, because tomorrow is the last day of school. The majority of the changes that have been made have been through attrition, and retirements, and those kinds of changes. There'll be others that'll come out of necessity, in that we may not need a person in a particular position because some of our student population may have changed. That would have come also through an attrition. That is not really a response to the levy. But if we need to go further than those things that are already more or less, they're not in place, but known, then I need to know so that I can make the appropriate contacts and do the appropriate procedures, because the RIF process speaks to how these play out, and make sure that we do it all with dignity. This is where you tell me to go further or stick to our original plan.
So what is in place and what is known is what constitutes that 400 to 500
Yep.
for this coming school year,
Yes,
right?
we have several retirements. We're taking advantage of those retirements. We've talked about a variety of different scenarios that would be deeper and very impactful. In my opinion, it is too late in the year to do anything to that degree. Last day of school's tomorrow.
I think for those that are going to tune in and watch later, it's worth repeating if you haven't seen the prior board meetings, but attrition. And if I don't mean to dumb this down, but if you don't know what attrition is, it's basically when someone decides they want to leave the school or they retire, we're just not rehiring that position, and we're reshuffling the existing staff to cover those staff members that have either retired or moved to other districts. But there's a price tag associated with that so far, and based on Kim and Will's figures, it's right at $500,000. That is going to be felt next year. This is the $500,000 in cuts. That's $500,000 less in spending that we will not be doing next year. So that is a known. That's known. There's a potential for more, maybe next year, but there's no guarantee. It's just speculation at this point. But I respect what Blake had to say in the rebuttal to my punt comment. But what I meant by punting is we're punting these extra cuts. We've just punted it for 1 year, but we have to try. We got to give this thing one last valiant effort to pass. And I'm willing. I mean, unfortunately, it's not deficit spending, but it's spending that we might end up in cut next year. But I'm fine right now, in my opinion only. I'm fine with the existing cuts that are in place through attrition. I think we have to wait and see what the November results are. If we're going to spend a little bit more money in fiscal year 25, so be it. Those hard decisions will be known on whatever the second week of November. We'll start planning and having serious conversations. We'll know what's going to happen. The staff is going to know what's happening then. But I would also, instead of saying cut an additional $300,000 or $500,000,
I would just say, look for areas that you can cut, bring it back to us and sell us on something. Or if it's another attrition, that's easy. I mean,
The
that
attrition
part's
piece is easy.
That's easy.
But really getting into some of the other pieces to the changes, they have to happen. They have to happen now. So we wouldn't be back. I don't know if we'd be back in the board meeting by the time we had that conversation. So stick to the original plan and go.
That's what I recommend.
I just think it's worth,
Then
the original plan is this, correct?
Yes.
The original plan is included in this, the roughly 800 to a million over 2 years.
the second
reductions.
year, actually, the second year is not built into
The
that.
second year of reduction is not.
That
built
is not
into
realized in that forecast. We have only dealt with what's
this.
what's
This
immediate
one,
known.
Reductions, well, that, all right. Yep.
They're still
thank you.
tentative at this point, right?
Yep, they're all there.
But I think even with the levy, Mr. Hampton has said that we have to look for ways to cut expenses. Obviously, the levy makes it a little more easy on the admin and the board, but revenue is still projected to be deficient compared to expenditures with a levy. So my
We will
guidance
make
would be to
adjustments.
continue to look for cuts that can be made that's not going to be painful yet until we see what November brings.
Yep.
Okay.
Continue on as we.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to kind of piggyback off that. I think, obviously look for ways, bring those to us when you come up with those ways, and we'll decide if it's something that makes sense. But, I think we need to put this out there to the community who, to Josh's point, who kept saying, we're fiscally irresponsible. We're not spending the money. We're spending money in wrong places. We're spending too much. This is us telling you that we recognize, with or without the levy, that we have adjustments to make, and we are taking the steps to rectify that and put us on the path. So as far as that statement of fiscal responsibility, this is it. This is us looking to do the right things to keep the school running and manage our expenditures.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I guess again echo what you two have said. I mean, I think it's important that again, understanding that there is a lot of people in the community that feel that the board has not necessarily always been very good at watching our pennies, but I don't think I would give you a dollar amount, but I do think it's important that our administrators and the board continue to look at ways of how we can be more responsible for each dollar that people are given to us. Because I know it's tough for everybody out there right now. It is. Mm-hmm. Everything's up. Everybody's having to pay more. But again, this community's just got to come together and support each other. That's where it's at. That Spartan family we always talk about. We gotta come together.
They got to get out and vote.
Got to get out and vote, but that's part of it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
It's looking out for your neighbor, looking out for each other, and that's Southeastern Ohio to me. I grew up here. You're always looking out for your neighbors and looking out for each other and family. And so again, I'm getting off on a rabbit hole there, but a rabbit trail. But yeah, I would say we got to continue to look at where can we be more responsible with our dollars, and I think bringing specific things to the board for us to look at and say, yeah, I think that's a great idea, or no, we're not supportive of that. I think that's good, as opposed to saying here's a dollar amount. So anyway.
Some of that comes to me educating people. And so this year alone, just in I would say the last 12 months, I mean, we've had financial meetings with staff. We've had insurance meetings with staff. I want people to understand things and be able to ask intelligent questions so that when I say things, they understand the second step or the next step or what's this mean and what's it influence. And we're doing some good work, I think, with the insurance piece. We're not at the mercy of that. We can make changes and we can learn and get better, but it's up to me to educate people on how to do that. And so we're working at it. It's small steps, and I think some of the conversations they've not had before. So we're going to talk about it. And if I didn't care about health insurance until I was in my position here, because we didn't use a lot of it, and I didn't understand it. But now I understand it very thoroughly. So we're going to teach people and help people, and in return, that will help us. So we're all in it together. And so if we can influence some of our actions, it'll help us.
Just have a question, just in terms of procedurally. So is it necessary that we make a motion to authorize you to reduce expenditures per the original plan of 400 to 500,000? Or do we just continue as is? Because I mean, I think it's important to realize, this is to all your all's point, it's important to realize by saying that continue with the plan is a $400,000 to $500,000 cut.
Mm-hmm.
It's not we're staying status quo.
Right.
This is, the question is, do we need to cut more? And I think from the conversation, it seems that people are comfortable with the original plan of $400,000 to $500,000 cut. And I personally, if I think it's important to get into the books that there is a $400,000 to $500,000 reduction to our budget this fiscal year. If anybody doesn't have an objection to that, I'd like to make that a motion to stick with the original plan of a $400,000 to $500,000 reduction in expenditures as originally planned.
Go ahead and write that.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, Blake, but that's kind of vague. At least if someone were to go back and read that motion, what is the original plan? Because we really haven't. We know what the original plan was, and that was
presented earlier this evening.
that was the attrition.
That was presented earlier this evening of the original plan of $400,000 to $500,000 reduction in cost. And so, and that's what's built in to our forecast, and that is what has been planned. And so I just think it's important that we get it on record that there is a reduction. We have authorized that reduction.
So can we reword it a little bit?
You
and actually
word it however you want. I
To
just
put
think
in
it's
the cost
important to get-
savings through attrition.
Through attrition.
But then that leads to the rabbit hole question. If something changes, then do we have to go back and revote to undo the plan? Or
And you also get into with this, as we've talked about before, there are positions that may come open that we don't have the option to just leave there. We may have
Right.
to backfill.
There will be some positions that we need.
Not these ones, just throughout the next year, there's a potential. So I don't know if we go into the detail to talk about, I mean, it's tough to get into actual position names. I think
the
because
key is
that's too tough,
authorize.
but just,
I think the key is authorize, not mandate. It is just,
To make the necessary reductions for the course of the calendar year.
yep.
yeah, so
For
read
attrition, retirements, and other.
read the motion just so we can hear it.
I just kind of added notes inside of it. Recommend to the Board of Education to authorize the superintendent to follow the original plan to cut $400,000 to $500,000 through attrition this calendar year.
Okay.
To maintain the original plan.
Okay.
why do we need this if we've already made that plan before?
If we're sticking to it, I don't know. I don't know that we need it. I mean, that's
My
what we had
question is,
talked
do we
about.
need it?
Right, so can
If we
just,
were making changes and we were going to be more aggressive,
right,
which was given as an option.
sure. So, I mean, for tonight's
Then-
purpose, this meeting, is there a way just to say, okay, we're not, how do you procedurally not, or just remove that from the agenda? I
We
mean, can
just
we just
remove
make a
it from
motion
the
to remove
agenda.
that from the agenda?
Yes.
I make a motion to remove that from the agenda.
Okay.
B, under business initiated by board members, I make a motion to remove that from the agenda.
You good with that?
I'll second it.
With the note that I think it's important to note that there are reductions happening. I'll say yes.
Yeah, and just again to be the broken record, beat the horse here. There, just look to the public. There are already $500,000 of reductions in place for next school year. So yes.
I'll echo that it's important to get it on record. I think we have many a time. It's in place. I don't think we need to go any more formal than that. So yes, I'm fine with removing this.
Yes.
Okay, do we have any board reports? Public participation, non-agenda items. Any public participation? Okay. Will, I haven't discussed this with you, but do we plan on any action taken after executive session? I don't see any, no. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to enter into executive session, but so we're late in the month, obviously this month, and then due to scheduling as well and some deadlines that Kim has, our next meeting we're going to have June 26th. June 26th. Still Wednesday, 7 o'clock here at the library. And with that, I need a motion to enter executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of an employee or official, and then also to prepare for, conduct, and review a collective bargaining strategy.
So moved.
Seconded.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, it's 10:18. We're come back from executive session. We'll enter back into regular session, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Blake,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Steven? Yes. Aaron? Yes. About mixed you up.